Hi, friends. Do you ever feel like you're disconnected? Maybe like your mind and your body are experiencing two different things. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experience with something called dissociation. My name is Raquel Perez, and I am a licensed professional counselor candidate in the state of Colorado. Welcome here to my channel where I do mental health content with a twist as I talk about my own experiences and how my mind and my body process the information. With that, let's go ahead and get started. I was 27 years old, and I was driving my 3 kids home from school. It was the end of the day. It had been a very long day, and my kids were taking advantage of this time with me, so they were telling me very excitedly about the things that they had experienced over the day. I had had a long day. I had spent the entire morning in school myself. I was a college student, and I had spent the afternoon working. I didn't really have the availability to not work at the same time that I was going to school. So it had been a very long day. I was kind of in a daze as I was driving my kids home from school when something caught my attention, and it drew my attention to my rear view mirror. And as I was looking at my rear view mirror, I saw my youngest in the back seat, and I could see that his lips were moving, but I couldn't hear the words that were coming out of his mouth. And then all of a sudden, he kept repeating, "Mom, Mom, Mom." And my oldest kind of gave me a little shake. "Mom?" And all of a sudden, I thought, oh my goodness, he's been talking to me, and I don't even know what he's been saying. Of course, I quickly apologized, and I just chalked it up to, it was a really long day, and that's why I kind of checked out at that time. Of course, at that time, I didn't have the vocabulary and I didn't have the emotional awareness that I have today to put a label and a name to what my body was experiencing at that time. And to be quite honest, I'm still processing my experiences and I'm still making sense of the information. And it wasn't until very recently, actually, when my girlfriend looked at me and asked me, "Where are you?" And I thought, oh, that's weird. I'm sitting here right next to you. And she looked at me and she pointed to my head and she repeated herself. "No, but where are you?" And she added, "Where did you go?" And at that moment, for some reason that I still can't explain, I connected what she was saying to the experience that I had had 15 years ago in the car with my kids, when I completely left my body and wasn't experiencing the environment that I was sitting in, and I wasn't experiencing the people that I was sitting with. And with all of the reflection that I've done on this subject, I have now been able to identify and to label what my body had been doing and continues to do. And that is called dissociation. And there are a lot of things that I've learned about dissociation in general and dissociation as it is in my body. And I want to share a little bit of what I have learned. So the first thing that I've learned is that dissociation is something that I have probably done for almost my entire life. The other thing that I learned is that dissociation is a protective measure. So when I was a child, if there was an environment or something happening in my surroundings that I didn't want to be a part of, that was too hard or too difficult for me to be a part of, my mind had the ability to take me away from that situation while my physical body couldn't escape the environment or the situation that I was in. And because this was such an effective tool for me as a child, my body continued to do it. My body continued to take me away when it felt stress and when it felt pressure, or when it was experiencing something that was very unpleasant for my body. My mind would go offline and continues to go offline. It just takes me away. It's something that's so automatic, that's so instant, and that I didn't even realize was happening. And honestly, sometimes I still don't realize is happening. However, now that I have a name to what is happening in my body, and I have labeled it as dissociation, I really want to learn more about what's happening in my body and why it's happening in my body. And so labeling and naming it has allowed me to begin to open up a curiosity about it. And so one thing that I have started doing is making a very concerted effort to recognize when my mind begins to go offline, and to really hone in on the sensations, the feelings, the thoughts that are happening inside of my body at that time. And what I've come to understand is that when I begin to start to go offline, there is a sensation in my body that's happening that I just want to disappear. The space that I am occupying at that moment, it's too difficult, it's too hard for a number of reasons, and I want to disappear. I don't want to be in that space anymore. And then when I sat in that feeling and I reflected on that feeling of why it was happening for me to begin with, I was able to trace it back to feeling like somebody was angry or upset with me. And so the way the process looks like for me is that as soon as somebody becomes angry or upset with me, my body cannot sit in that discomfort. It wants to disappear. It wants to go away. And my mind comes in with this very effective tool and strategy that it's had for a very long time, and it takes me offline so that my physical body can remain where it is, but my mind doesn't have to be there. However, this is not allowing me to sit in my environment, to experience this space, and to experience the people that are in this space with me. So by reflecting and by really listening to the feedback that the people around me are giving me, I have been able to identify that my body goes through a process called dissociation. And dissociation is a very useful tool that my body learned to do a very long time ago. And it was to protect me. It was so that my mind didn't have to sit in the physical situation that I could not escape. And because it was so effective, my body continued to do that throughout my life. I didn't realize or recognize that this was happening, but as loved ones began giving me feedback, I was able to sit with that feedback and be curious about what was happening for me. And I realized that again, this dissociation was happening. And as the dissociation happens, because it takes my mind away from my environment and away from my experience, I am not experiencing fully what is in front of me. And so now, through being curious about what is happening in my body and trying to identify what is happening in my body and really opening up a gentle curiosity of what this is, why my body does it, I can begin to, number one, sit in my environment and not let my mind take me away in that protective way that it does. But it has also began to open up a gentle curiosity for me in uncovering and healing and processing the experiences that have led to my body creating this environment where it dissociates as a protective measure for me. That is still something that I continue to process. That is still something that I continue to be curious about. And I don't have too much information right now about why my body does this to begin with, or why it began doing this as a child, but I do have much more information than I did before, and that is allowing the journey to begin. Well, friends, that's all I have for this video. If you have found it useful or helpful in any way, please hit that like button down below. I post content every week on Friday, so please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye for now.